Howdy friends, welcome to Plumbing with Tim. Today's video, we're on location at a house where we received a call that there was a leak up underneath in a crawl area that somebody had spotted. Down in there. We've already done the homework and located where the leak's coming from. Now we're going to go up top, locate what's making that leak, and make the repair. This is a vacant home. Nobody's lived here in quite some time. We're going to make our way to the bathroom where we had located, and I've already pulled this toilet up, and I'll explain to you why. When we arrived, there was water all along the floor in here. We pulled the toilet up and stuff. We thought maybe there was something happening with the water line. Well, in essence, that wasn't what the problem was. This is what it was. The bolt holding the tank on was rotted, as you can see. It was dripping down onto the floor, and you can see it's been happening for a long time. There's damage in here and stuff, and it was dripping down here by where the flange is, which in essence we thought, well, maybe the toilet was running and it had a bad wax seal. Well, nobody's been living here, so that is what our job is to do, is to take this old tank off of here, get rid of all the parts inside of here, and rebuild it. Look at the bolt heads on there. They're all swelled up. Yeah, so all that stuff's got to come out of here, and we're going to rehab this whole thing with new valves, the whole deal. And this is an Eljer. All right, as you can see, those bolts are way rotted. That's the number one cause for why we had water on the floor and stuff. But while we're at it, and it's been a while, we're going to take everything out of the back of this tank and we're going to replace it. When I say everything, I mean everything. All right, let's get those old bolt heads out of there. Been rotted in there for a while. Knock that one out. You see my screwdriver back in there on the back side. Here comes the other one. Good. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the bottom of the fill valve, or the fluid master, whatever. That's coming out of here. You never change one tire on a car if they all need to be changed. So this is a good time to upgrade this entire toilet tank. There we go. There's the old fluid master. Next, we're going to take out the flush valve. This guy right here, this whole assembly that holds the flapper, we got to go around to the back of this and take that big nut off. Big pair of channel locks, get it on that nut right there. Nice and easy. We don't want to break anything here. Start turning it. They get to the point where you can just loosen it up by hand. Take it all the way off there. All right, here it comes. We still got this flapper hanging out on here, so let's just pop the flapper completely off. There's your old flush valve. The reason why we replaced this as well, because look how bad the gasket is on here. All right, even though we fixed one little leak, this stuff is going to start leaking again. We're here to do a full quality job. That means replacing parts. If they're broke or not, they're going to sooner or later. I'll take this gasket off here. You guys can have a look. It's all whopped out. It's like all kinds of garbage in there. This is just another leak waiting to happen. All right, last but not least, we're going to take this toilet handle lever off. Now, these nuts are isometrical, meaning that they turn the opposite way to loosen up as you would anything else. It's not righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. It's the opposite. This way, when the toilet lever is being used, it won't end up loosening the thing back up. Just take it out like that, drop the nut, pull the thing out. Now, we're going to clean that tank up. You can see there's a lot of little rust and stuff. Get some sandcloth, some rags and stuff, and get rid of all that stuff that could potentially cause a void and another leak. All right, make sure to clean that inside really well. If you have to, a little flathead screwdriver. Get rid of all that old rust and metal, whatever you need to do. Now on the bottom of the tank, see there, right there is the smoking gun. Take a rag, we're going to wipe this off really good. We can see where that leak has been going on. It caused damage on the floor and was leaking down underneath. You got to make sure, do whatever you have to do, put something in there, clean those holes out really good. Don't force nothing. You don't want nothing broke. A little bit of sandcloth. We just don't want no rough edges. You're not going to be able to get rid of that stain or anything, but no rough edges. The thing we're going to reinstall in here is going to be a new flush valve. Now take a look at these two. There's the one that came out. Remember, this is an Eljer toilet. Here's the new one. I believe this is made by Wolverine Brass. Now, what is so significant about this is the way toilets are made nowadays, they determine how much water is going to sit in this tank by the height of this tube. Well, we've got a longer tube, so now we can make this into even more of a stronger flushing toilet by having more room to add water into the tank. By taking the nut off the bottom of here, and putting it in from the tank side out. And turn that about 45 degrees towards where the handle is going to be, which is up there in that little hole over there. See it? 45 degrees. On with the nut. Snug it up. We'll get a wrench on it here in a minute. Nice and hand tight. Do not over tighten this. We don't want a broken tank. This toilet's probably about 20 years old, 30 years old. We're just snugging this down. Because we are professional plumbers here, we do things the right way. We're replacing the bolts with reinforced brass bolts, single washer. Okay, we're going to go through those two holes. Now the other end, we're going to use 2 washers and 2 nuts. We ain't playing that game of just sliding the bolts down through the hole and catching the whole bowl to the tank with a single nut, because that will end up failing after a while. Check it out. All right, washers, nuts. Review, we've got our new flush valve in there and our tank bolts with the gaskets and stuff. That's what it looks like from the inside, and the bottom, that's what we look like. All right, next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a fill valve in, also made by Wolverine brass. And that's how these look. They're not Fluid Masters. I'll show you how to adjust these as well. We're going to take that little nut off there, as well as this nut. I've done videos on these before. This is a Hush toilet fill valve made by Wolverine brass. So you can adjust the heights on these, pardon my camera, by taking this little retention nut, sliding it down, making a twist, and pulling it back up. Once you get it to where you want it to be, push it back till it clicks, pop your nut back into place. That is your adjustment for your water inside the tank. Put the nut on here, you want the rubber gasket on there first, because when you're tightening this, you don't want that to break the porcelain. There we go. See that? Real slick. Last but not least, before we go inside, don't forget your donut at the bottom. Most of these are universal. Take your time, make sure they seat in there really nice. These Eljer toilets like this, everything on here are universal parts. So we're not talking about a specialty toilet like a Gerber or those other ones. Very standard. This is how you can rebuild a complete toilet tank. Behind every good plumber is a good helper. Behind the scenes is my helper right now inside, prepping the area for the toilet to be reset with a new wax seal and bolts and make sure everything's clean. And then we will reset this tank and be ready to go. Okay, little pro tip right here. We've got the Johnny bolts sitting in place on the cast iron and stuff, getting ready to set the toilet back into place. What is our problem here? If you look, it's got 3 different layers of floor on here, okay? So we need to have 2 wax rings. We're gonna put one that's got a horn on it and then a second one on top of that. That way, when the toilet gets sit on the flange, it'll adhere to the bottom of the toilet. Here we go. There's one. We take the one without the horn, flip it over, set it on top, kind of put our palm of our hand on there just to make sure it's sitting. Now we're ready to set the toilet down, and you can see it's above the floor level, and it'll all smash down. We'll have a nice, clean seal. First, let's mount that tank to the bolt. Got it seated down there nicely, just like that. All right, time to reset this toilet. All right, here we go. Let's give it a flush. There you guys have it, a complete tank rebuild on an old Eljer toilet. All the parts we used were universal parts, most of them made by Wolverine Brass. That does not include toilets such as Kohler's, Glacier Bay's, Gerber's and stuff. You have to have specialized parts for those, but this is a basic toilet. And remember, we had a floor that was that low, so we had to actually put 2 X-rings, and my bolts weren't long enough. A set of tank bolts worked just fine. Got any comments or questions, leave them down below, and don't forget to keep plumbing.